Well, good morning. This is Mr. Nutt, and I am riding the back roads of Oklahoma this morning up in the Grand Lake area. I am just a couple of miles east of the area of Langley, Oklahoma and Disney, Oklahoma. And I want to take you on a ride through this gorgeous country over a couple of dams and some great rec areas. And pretty much just kind of talk about our trip last week and why we didn't have any videos out for last week's 3 series that we're producing. And kind of recommit to you that we're going to do that this week. So before I get too far into this, let's roll the intro and I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, this is a great road. Gotta watch out for cages up here, so I don't want to be too distracted. So last week we made a trip to Franklin, Tennessee, and we visited with the guys. We visited with Jamie Lima and Mike Van Orden at Moonshine Harley Davidson. We've been following Moonshine and these guys for over a year, about a year and a half actually. And we've always been impressed with what they do, and they've pretty much been a model for the things that we see that Harley-Davidson dealerships are going to need to do in order to thrive in the future. Now, this isn't about survival, and this isn't about staying in business. This is about actually disrupting markets and thriving in the future. And I believe that Moonshine has kind of put out the recipe for this, something we've talked about with our clients and with dealers that we just simply have conversations with for a long time. So I want to take you back to the 1980s and my first job in the automobile retail industry, which was with an AMC Jeep Renault dealership. A very dynamic guy in my hometown opened this dealership. We met through odd circumstances, and he liked me, so he asked me to come and come to work for him, so I did. This was about 1985. It was during this time that the AMC, Renault, and Jeep dealerships were purchased by Chrysler, and Chrysler discontinued the legendary CJ7, which was the Citizen's Jeep, if you remember the old CJ back in the 80s and before. And they introduced this thing called the Wrangler, which had independent front suspension, and it had a new style of engine, and basically was a completely reworked vehicle. Now, Chrysler didn't invent the Wrangler. I believe that they bought it. These dams are great, by the way. These are gorgeous. And if you look off on the left-hand side, if I can get a little view of this, you'll see some rec areas that are awesome. And there's a lot of recreation going on up here right now as we start heading into fall. But anyway, so back to the Jeep Chrysler almost debacle. Basically what had to happen in that was Chrysler was not prepared for the Wrangler. They were not prepared for the negativity towards this vehicle from the base Jeep customer. I mean, you know, this was your CJ7 guy. This was your 4x4 guy. These were, you know, these guys wanted bulletproof 4x4 vehicles that they could use in their recreational activities. So the dealers had to come in, and they had to not only, you know, find accessories for these vehicles, but in some cases they had to fabricate them themselves. And a lot of Jeep dealerships became fabricators in their service departments to create what they thought they needed to create so that CJ7 buyers would adopt the Wrangler. And as we know today, the Wrangler is a success story. You know, as I'm riding around here, we can see a few of them. And I don't believe believe that Chrysler deserves the credit for the success story that the Wrangler and now the Gladiator have become. These were dealerships that decided that they were going to do what the factory either wouldn't or couldn't do. And that's where I come back to Harley-Davidson right now in this day and age, in this time. Harley-Davidson, the motor company, has been murdered by the EPA and other world regulatory agencies. In the last 5 years, they have, they've paid a huge price for bringing their customers what their customers wanted. And they've had to pull themselves back to producing a very streetable motorcycle, a very good motorcycle. If you're a basic rider, a stock Harley Davidson, a stock Streetglide Special, a stock Softail it is a great motorcycle. It will perform above and beyond most straight from the showroom floor. The motorcycle performs well. Let's just put it that way. And even though Harley has most recently been able to get passage for their 128 and 131 big bore kits in touring, and now, if you didn't know this, those same kits are available in Softails in 49 states. Of course, California. Nobody can create anything with an organic fill source that California is going to accept. However, the fact is they still leave, because they still have to make these bikes 49 state compliant with the EPA, and they had to do what they had to do from a regulatory standpoint. These kits have a lot of restrictions on the power that they produce for the money that you put into them. And I believe that there's a better way, and dealers are the ones responsible for introducing these to you. Let me take a break here real quick and get Siri up to speed on my directions. Give me directions home. Okay, so one of the cool things I want to share real quick, see if I can get my camera and keep my camera on this just long enough while I'm still riding. Here's a cool feature. I can share my ETA with my lovely wife, who is at home. And now she'll get updates telling her where I am and about what time to expect me home. So, kind of a cool feature with Apple CarPlay. All right, so back to my story. So the reason that I wanted to visit Franklin, Tennessee, and I wanted to get to know these guys was because I wanted to see exactly what it was they were doing in doing these performance builds and guaranteeing their customers warranty where Harley couldn't honor it. And I really want to make that really clear, where basically Harley, through regulatory agreements and settlements, cannot honor the warranty in certain circumstances when you do certain modifications on your motorcycle. So what this dealership has done is they've stepped up and said anything that we build, we'll stand behind. On top of that, we're going to offer an extended warranty on our builds and on our bikes that we put together ourselves, and given our customers the assurances that they can get the service that they need should something happen to one of our performance builds. I believe that they've got a 1 year and 2 year extension on top of the 2 year Harley-Davidson warranty, or something close to that. But basically the way that it was explained to me is when they get a bike that comes in for warranty work, because if the customer has this extended warranty, they no longer have to even worry about determining what the problem is. They can fix it for the customer and then either deal with their warranty company or deal with Harley-Davidson on getting reimbursed for the service. I don't have these cages to contend with my entire way through this beautiful ride. So what I've been telling Harley dealerships for the past year is that where the factory can't do certain things, where the motor company can't do certain things, it's up to them to figure out a way to do them. It's up to them to deliver the products that their customers want from these beautiful templates that they're getting from the motor company. And it's up to them to stand behind their work and not leave their customer hanging and not have to go through this. So they've been having to put together paperwork that basically tells their customers, and the customer has to sign like a release saying that they've been explained that there's a good chance that Harley-Davidson will not honor warranty work on their engine and their drivetrain when they do these modifications, even if they're just doing a stage 2 cam with a beautiful, with some of these nice Reaper cams and S&S cams that are designed to give the stock engine just that much more power, and they move to a Power Vision tuner or a Thundermax tuner. They've pretty much, voided their warranty. So I've been saying for a long time the dealers need to come up with their own fix for this, and Moonshine has. It's one of the reasons you're going to see this channel promote Moonshine to our audience a lot. It's simply because we believe that's what we're here for. We're here to build this beautiful brand. We're here to keep this tradition alive. We're here to make sure that people love the motor company. And the fact is, people are demanding greater and greater performance, not just from the drivetrain, but from the suspension and from the entire motorcycle in these baggers. I mean, these are like, if you look at today's baggers, your Streetglide Special is somewhat like a sports sedan. It's got your hard bags on it. You can put a tour pack on it. What's nice is you can put a tour pack on it that you can then, put on and take off as you wish. You can accessorize the bike for long distance touring or for just screwing around town and, looking sporty and hot. But the biggest thing is getting the sound and getting the power out of these so that when you get on one, you're on something special. And there's a big audience for that within the Harley-Davidson world. There's a big audience for that within sports bike riders who are looking to move to cruisers. They are looking for that performance edge, and they're looking for a bike that they can customize and personalize and make their own from a great template. And that's really what Harley-Davidson, in my opinion, offers. So that's really what we're trying to, communicate out here to dealers, is it's their turn to become the Jeep dealers of 1985 and 1986, may have been 86, and for them to step up to the plate and stand behind their service department to assure they're using top-notch accessories, top-notch talent in their service department, and that they are delivering a great product to their customers, and their customers aren't being left stranded. When I get on these forums on Facebook, these groups on Facebook like Streetglide Nation, there's a great breakout group, a great Fat Bob group. There's just some great groups on Facebook for these bikes. One of the things that you hear more than anything is the fact that, when they're doing these modifications, they're violating their warranty, they're taking their bike out of warranty, and they're losing a certain amount of security after spending a reasonably good price on a motorcycle. So I love the fact that Moonshine is standing behind their builds. They've got that kind of confidence in their service department. They've got that kind of confidence in the manufacturers and the accessories that they're using. And the fact is they've designed their dealership to do this right. I'm going to get around this guy. Open road. So for you guys out there, that are doing business with dealers, what is your dealer standing behind? What kind of performance modifications would you like to do if your dealer would stand behind them and if it wouldn't void your warranty? Would you, do one of these great S&S performance big bore kits rather than using Harley's 131 kit? What cams have you been looking at that you would love to use? What tuners have you been looking at that you would like to use? Yeah, we're kind of narrow here. We've chosen the Thundermax and Power Vision as our tuners. the reason we like Thundermax and the reason we like Power Vision primarily are because the best technicians we know, the best performance shops we know, use them and swear by them. So that's good enough for me as kind of a non-expert in the field. So I'm always curious as to, you know, what you guys are using and what you want to use. What kind of performance mods are you looking for? Aesthetically, there's also been some great releases. Harley Davidson, along with announcing their 131 and 128 kit, they announced 2 stage 3 kits for touring models. You know, eventually those will come, you know, available for Softails. But in stage 3, they're offering a 119 cubic inch stage 3 build for touring models for 107s and a 122 for 114s. Kind of a nice mid-grade mod there, and creating a good separation between, you know, the stock 107, 114, 119, and 122, and then 128 and 131. And of course, the power models on all of those are different. And the fact is, if you want to stick with those parts and you want to stick with Harley's tuners, you can get a pretty good build right now. And keep your warranty. Now, one of the things I want to ask you guys, and that is that if your dealership isn't going to stand behind a warranty, if you want to use Reaper cams or if you want to use S&S cams, if they're not going to stand behind their build on that, when in doing so, you're changing out the cam chest and creating a much better coolant and lubrication situation for your engine within that build. Do you want them doing your 128 and 131 builds? Or would you rather send it to somebody, to a dealership that has been doing performance builds and has built their own brand within the brand and has become known as one of the world's foremost V-twin Harley-Davidson dealerships? So if you can, you know, in your comments, you know, tell me what it is that you ride, what it is you would like to do to it, and your thoughts on your local dealer and how they're handling their service department, their parts department, their motor clothes department. Do you live by a dealership that's firing on all cylinders? There's not just a few, there are a lot of them out there. And do you see where they could make a difference if they adopted more of a model where they were a performance shop that stood behind their work? Just a curiosity that I have. You know, I've got to excuse MrsNutt for being absent from our videos today and probably for the next couple. Her time became much more limited than it was a couple of weeks ago. And of course, we got the new puppy. If you guys haven't seen Opie, take a look at our Facebook and on our Instagram. Our new American Bully. Such a beautiful dog, man. We've really never had a dog. This dog is so smart. He's 10 weeks old now. We've had him for about 2.5 weeks. He's already 80% potty trained. He's fairly leash trained and very basic command trained already. He's learned really, really fast. I'm so happy with this puppy. So at the same time, we're both freaking exhausted. We had no idea that taking on a puppy that is in a breed that is considered to be a companionship dog was going to be like having an infant in the house for a few weeks. So I really want to thank everybody for coming along. If you haven't, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Your comments mean a lot. I'd really like to hear your questions and comments on, you know, what we experience at Moonshine. Maybe, you know, again, what your dealer's doing in your area. Do you live in an area with a good dealer? We love promoting good dealerships, so we want to make sure that we do that as well. You know, the brand can't live off of 1 or 2 good dealerships. We have to have multiple. I do believe that one of the goals with their new strategies is to weed out some of these dealerships that are not keeping up with the motor company and keeping up with the brand. So until next time, peace. Appreciate you coming along. See you down the road.